Well, hey fans, welcome back to the JanuScary special. This is the final episode for this year. It was a blast going over all these films with you. So with Valentine's Day coming up next month, I thought this would be a good movie to review for the final JanuScary special. Today we're going to talk about Bones and All. And Bones and All is a cannibal horror romance film directed by Luca Guadagnino, and it stars Taylor Russell, Timothée Chalamet, Mark Rylance, Chloë Sevigny, André Holland, Michael Stuhlbarg, and then a few other names that pop up in there as well. And the basic plot is that there's this 18-year-old girl named Maren, and she is afflicted with cannibalism. Her father has left her on her own, and she has to navigate this world while feeding her hunger for human flesh. And while on the road, she runs into a couple of other cannibals, and she's one in particular played by Timothée Chalamet. His name is Lee. They fall in love. And it's kind of about their romance, as these two young cannibals. And first off, I'd like to thank MGM and Warner Brothers for sending me a copy of the film. Thank you very much for that. Luckily for me, though, I was also able to get a screener for the film during award season, so I watched it. And upon my first viewing, I was like, man, this film kind of really stays with you. Anything about cannibals is just kind of interesting to look at. And I think one of the great things Luca Guadagnino does with the film is that he presents cannibalism as this hereditary disease. The main character, Maren, she inherited it from her mother, who's been missing from her life since she was a kid. And Lee states that he inherited it from his father. But it doesn't go to everyone. Lee has a sister in the film. She's not a cannibal. And, that was a very interesting aspect of it. They don't really go deep into what the cannibalism is, because they can eat regular food. They eat regular food all the time, but they somehow crave human flesh. The smell of people makes their mouth water. And there's an older cannibal played by Mark Rylance. He kind of alludes to the fact that if you don't satiate your flesh-eating habit, it will kill you. So I kind of like that aspect of it. Now, this could have easily been some kind of monster film, some kind of werewolf film, but just making these main characters humans who eat flesh is really unsettling. And another thing Guadagnino does well is when he shows the humans being eaten and their flesh being ripped off, it's kind of out of focus. And they're tearing apart these bodies, and you see the blood over their bodies and their faces afterwards. But the carcass that is left over is usually kind of off in the background. You can kind of make out how mutilated it is, but you can't really see exactly how they tore this body apart. Now, I think the acting in this film is phenomenal. Taylor Russell and Timothée Chalamet, of course, they do a fantastic job. Taylor Russell is really the main star of the film. You're on her journey. Part of the exploration is her finding her mom and finding out exactly, why did you leave? And stuff like that. And you got Lee, he's struggling with his cannibalism. He's apart from his family. He has some issues with his dad and his mom. And his sister always wants him around and wonders why he always leaves town. And Mark Rylance, as this older cannibal named Sully, he just wants a companion, wants somebody to be with him. He's tired of being alone. He's been alone for most of his life. And I think that aspect of the film is fun to watch, how all these characters circumnavigate this world. Bones and All is based off of a book, and depending on who you speak to, the book is either an allegory for alcoholism or drug addiction or just people who eat meat. Now, I think it's just a cannibal movie. I mean, I can kind of see the drug addiction part of it where you try to stop, but the people around you who do drugs keep sucking you back in. I can kind of see that, but just it being this young love story with cannibals, I think is fine. There's an interesting aspect in the film that cannibals can smell each other, or cannibals can learn to smell each other. So the older cannibals, they know how to sniff out a cannibal. Even Timothée Chalamet kind of has developed a smell, and he can smell other cannibals. But Michael Stuhlbarg appears in the film. He's this cannibal named Stu. And he gives, the titular title, Bones and All. He states that, he says, have you ever eaten a human, bones and all? And once you do that, there's no greater high. Now, that's a little weird, because there's no way you can eat a human, bones and all, in one sitting. Maybe over time, but him stating that, I feel like it was just kind of to get the title out there. But the great thing about Maren and her cannibalism, she hates it. She does not want to do it. And when they meet Stu and his companion is a cannibal, but he doesn't have the hunger like the rest of them. He just does it because it's fun. And Maren hears this, and she's just disgusted, and she just no longer wants to be around them because this is something that she doesn't want to do. Now, There are a few humps, like with any horror movie, that you have to get over. And I say horror lightly because it is more of a romance than a horror. There's not really a lot of scary things about it. But Maren, through her trip, she listens to this recording that her dad left her about, all the instances when he knew she was a cannibal, when she killed people. And the first instance is when she was 3 and she ate her babysitter's face off. I found that a little hard to believe that a 3-year-old girl could eat a babysitter's face off and kill her, to the fact that the babysitter's still holding her afterwards. It's that part I feel like didn't make sense, and they should have just stuck with the second story about how when she was at camp, she went off to the woods with this boy and the boy got lost and they found his body mutilated later like he was attacked by a wild animal. That should have been the first instance of her being a cannibal. Another thing that I like about the cannibals is that, even though they know they're killing people, is like they wish they felt bad about it. For some reason they don't, because they know they're hungry, they need to eat. A lot of the cannibals, like Sully, for instance, he doesn't like killing people. He likes to find older people who are about to die, and when they pass, he likes to eat them. So that, I think, was another good instance. Like, there are some cannibals who prefer to kill their prey. They just find bad people and kill them, and there are other cannibals who don't want to kill at all, and they'll just, eat like somebody who just died. And another great thing about this film that makes a lot more sense is actually like set in the 80s, I believe, or the early 90s. I don't exactly remember, but that, makes it a little bit easier for these, people to, have a hard time getting in contact with each other. They have to travel these long distances to see each other. They can't make a call without going to a payphone. And I think that is a better time period to set this story in. Because if you set this in modern day, these cannibals are getting caught left and right by the police. There's no way you can kill somebody and not be found like as sloppy as they were in this film, especially with, Sully staying in that old lady's house and just waiting for her to die. Like, there's no way that would happen in a modern setting. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, can I watch this film and eat something? So, while watching this film, I ate a big bowl of red, meaty, cheesy spaghetti, and I was like, I'm gonna be sick. But surprisingly, I wasn't. So I think it depends on what you're comfortable with. But yeah, it's a young love story with cannibals. What's not to like? You got Timothée Chalamet in there. So, if you and your girl, if you guys like horrors, Valentine's Day is coming up. I highly recommend you watch it then. And I'll also say the film is a little slow. It does kind of crawl along. You really have to be interested in these characters to keep going. This is something I feel like they could have probably picked up the pace a little bit with some of the scenes, shortened the film just a tad. It's not too long, but I think they could have shortened it by about 10 minutes. And it would have made for a tighter cut. So in terms of a score, I think I'm going to give Bones and All a solid 6.7 out of 10. I think that's a good score to give a film of this nature. So I thank you guys for joining me again for the JanuScary special. It was really great to talk about horror movies with you this year. I can't wait to do it again with you guys next year. I wish I could fit more in, but the month is only 31 days. So remember, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And please, pretty please, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, the website, anything and everything Flix Frog. And until next year, I'll be seeing you.